Well, welcome aboard and welcome to Flying with Mike. We're sitting on the ground in Bethel, Alaska, and as you can see, today we fly the MD-82, first leg of a route around the world that a friend of mine gave me to fly. Not necessarily just the MD-82, but they'll be short, they'll be long legs, so it'll be a fun when we get to it. So just thought I'd put that out there, that we are flying something that was recommended. Just put the flight plan in the chat area, and we are getting ready to go here. It is a chilly day here. It has been snowing here in Bethel, and we hope you all have a great time on the stream today. We're going to Juneau, basically across the oh gosh, the Alaskan area, the water there over to Juneau. We'll give you all of the particulars here in a moment. It just all of a sudden evaporated. Uh, Been the story of my life here. So hang on a second. We got one last thing that didn't fire up like it was supposed to, so we're getting it right now. And there it is. All right, so hopefully you all will enjoy this. So for now, let's get into the pre-flight, and with that, we'll bring up Sim Toolkit, and that'll be what lets us know what's going on. Hang on a second, there it goes, and we're on the live map here with Sim Toolkit. Okay, today's flight is going to have us take off on runway 1 left. So we're the little blue guy here sitting. So basically we'll taxi out. We can zoom down. That's not going to give us taxiways. Okay, we'll taxi down and head out on 1 left. So just kind of letting you know, this is a feature of the free program, Sim Toolkit. Also, our weather is down below here. We have some thunder snow every now and then here. I haven't heard any yet, but winds are 320 at 11. We got 2.5 miles of visibility and light snow and flurries, and overcast ceiling at 2,600 feet. Marginal VFR day. Actually, it's technically instrument, but I think the new rules have that as marginal. Minus 12 Celsius for the temperature, and the dew point minus 13. That's right, we're going down. That always throws me off because you can't usually have a temperature go below that, and I keep forgetting we're going down with minus 13 and all. Never mind. Anyway, altimeter is 2942, so I'm getting myself and you all confused, so that's why I just said, you know what, forget it. So we're going to get over here and get into the pre-flight. Runway 1 left is 6,400 foot long runway, plenty for the MD-80. Heading of 12 degrees. Transition, of course, is 18,000 feet. And currently, we're 129 feet. And excuse me for the yawn, I do apologize. And we're 129 feet above sea level. So today's flight is 862 nautical, I'm sorry, 867. It's going to be a unique run, and we're going to be going over Anchorage, dropping down to Juneau. As you can see right here is our flight plan. Although this needs to be, we're going to come off at a sort and just go right down the localizer, displaced localizer. And this is a true displace. Very much not as easy to manage as Reagan, but nonetheless it is displaced. You're coming down at a pretty good angle and you got to turn for the runway at the end. So hopefully weather will allow us to fly this. The one thing that I miss from my FSX program, um, with the Orbic scenery I had for the region down there, Juneau had lead-in lights, which help the pilots. If they can see those, they can continue their approach, which is very critical sometimes for Juneau. Juneau can get rough and a lot of cancellations happen. Mainly for weather, freezing rain, freezing, any of that bad stuff happens there. It's not the snow, it's the fact that it brings the visibility down so badly. And if you can't see the lead-in lights, well, then you're not going to see the runway and when you need to turn. And that's what the lead-in lights allow you to do. I have not seen them in X-Plane. So over here to the flight plan. Like I said, we're going 867 miles from here. Oh, our loadout. Let me back up one step. We're loaded out with 162 passengers with a payload of 37,260 pounds. Yes, we're back in pounds with this plane. It's so much easier for me to understand. And I do beg your forgiveness for those of you elsewhere that run in the metric system. It's sometimes, I mean, it's very easy to understand on the surface, but when you're applying it to like an airplane or something to that effect, it gets sometimes really hard, especially on this old guy. So that's why I prefer pounds. It's just much easier for me. Fuel load, we've already loaded up 26,587. And today's cruise altitude will be 33,000 feet, and there is no step climb. Okay, we planned, if we do the missed approach and if we go to Whitehorse, Canada, it's 4,144 pounds in the tanks when we get to Whitehorse. That'll be our 45-minute reserve. So we don't have the elaborate FMS that PMDG and Level D all have, Captain Sim included. This is an older plane, so we don't have to put this in. There I go again, and I do apologize, folks, and I actually thought I slept halfway decent last night. Not as good as I'd like, but still better than normal. All right, and then just to get a flavor of what we're going into in Juneau, right now it's a 110 knot wind or 10-degree wind at 15 knots. Favors obviously runway 8. 10-mile visibility, light rain. Few clouds at 800 feet, and we have a broken deck at 3,500 feet. Overcast 5,000. So, with the temperature of 5 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius for the dew point. And their altimeter is 3041. So obviously there is a very strong system in between us. All right, so let's scroll down just a little bit more and we'll see the actual breakdown. We have the 162 people, no cargo. So our payload is fully based on 37,260 pounds of both people and bags. There's our fuel weight of 26.6, which is good, and we're planning to push back here in about 10 minutes, and we are just about there. We have a couple more things to do on the checklist, and we'll be ready to push. We might be out a few minutes late, but we're trying our best to be respectful of your time, my time, and by the way, being here in the States, this is Martin Luther King Day, so we are celebrating it in remembrance of the civil rights leader. So I thought I'd put that out there before we get going much further. I know elsewhere in the world they really don't celebrate or remember this date, but they do here in the States. Most of the government is shut down right now, plus with what's coming up tomorrow, it also helps the government to be shut down as well. So last thing I want to look at are the charts. Now, this will give you a picture of our route, and I'll show you in the live map also. But basically, we're going to be flying to Anchorage, really Cordova area, and then down into Juneau. So, and it's pretty much like 1% off what would be if we went on a direct GPS flying the Earth. All right, here's the significant weather. As we all figured, with that kind of a low pressure here of 2941, 3007 there, there's got to be something in the middle. A lot. Jet stream and a lot going on here. So we'll be flying through it all. I'm not even going to go through all the airmets and sigmets down here. But suffice to say, we got a lot of turbulence. It's going to be a bumpy ride for our passengers. Let's see, 30,000, this will work. Okay, so you can kind of see, at least looking at it from a wind perspective, you can't really find it at this level. And I'm looking ahead, I don't see it on the next chart either. So we're basically going to have a north wind pushing us a little bit, then switching as we come off Anchorage to a little bit of a headwind. So, and then we'll go to the 34,000 foot. So, and again, it mimics pretty much the same thing. I don't show any signs. Maybe the low is actually east of Juneau. Anyway, something is in there that's really, raising things up, or there's a low pushing in on the west coast of Alaska, and we're in a high pressure area here. So either of the two is what's going on. All right, and finally, we're not be up at 39, but again, still nothing really significant showing other than right around Juneau. So we should be way under that. All right, so that wraps up the pre-brief. Again, the weather here as of, well, should be updating here as in about an hour or so ago. 310 at 10, 8-mile visibility. Wait a minute. It just updated. My bad. Updated about 10, 20 minutes ago. So 310 at 10, 8 miles, light snow, overcast 6,000, and we're still 2941. All right, so that wraps things up here on the ground. And let me push back to the live map. And no, we're not going to be turning right there, folks. We're going to give it ample time. But we'll give you kind of a look at it over towards Anchorage. So you can see there is some weather out in the Gulf there of Alaska. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead, jump back into the cockpit and press on from there, get the plane in the air since we're 5 minutes from pushback, and we're going to be late, just so you all know. All right, so we are in the MD-80. The final bags have been loaded, and we're going to do one thing here, and then I'm also going to connect. Okay, there we go. Flight plan submitted. And no ATC up in the area. Sorry for the sniffle there, folks. All right, so we are in the cockpit. We have powered up. We've got the APU running. We've got the people boarding at this time. And we are to a point where we're just finishing up on the flight deck prep and going into pre-start. And it's not a lot of steps from here. Real quick, I've got our FMS loaded all the way to Juneau, and X-Plane has us really close to the building, so don't be surprised if you see a truck go through us. It's one of those things. I wish I knew how to push back in X-Plane, but I don't. Not necessarily push back, I should say, slew, so I can get out of the way. All right, so, and we are flying for Sim Air Force today, virtual special organization. We're flying some troops back from weekend training in Bethel, and we're flying them over to Juneau, to the capital, for protection detail for tomorrow. All right, so let's resume. Okay, so let me go through what we've done here on the flight plan. Basically, we came in, we had route, and folks, this is the default MD-80, not the rotate. So anything you know about rotate doesn't apply here. So I just went to company list. I had it put over here so I could get going quicker. Oh boy. Tell you folks, the longer I have AVG, the longer I'm thinking of, the quicker I'm thinking about getting rid of it. It's starting to really aggravate me. But anyway, so there's our Vita. We'll head to Tort, Yonk, ANC is Ted, which is ANC, JOH, Castle, Katit, Yakit, and we're going to come off that airway at Assort instead of SSR, and that's where we're going to turn straight in for the runway. We've got it all the way programmed in, so we're just basically ready to just finish up the checklist here and button up the aircraft and push back. We left off with the FD switches, speed and Mach. All right, bear with me here. I'm going between two different checklists. Whoops. All right. All right, let's see here. Takeoff speeds. Oh, I hate these PDFs sometimes. There we go. Okay. Just so I can read it. I went too far. Okay. So we're going to go with 145 for V1, 149, and hang on a second. I'm just going to move them as I'm saying. 220 I use as a fully flap up. So V2 is going to be 155. So about halfway to 160, right about there. Matter of fact, we can zoom in. Okay. V rotate's going to be 149, which is about right there. And 145. There we go. All right, so we have a V1 of 145, VR or rotate at 149, 155. Now I know for a fact the operating manual for the MD-82 has it saying differently, and I'm going off a checklist. We'll be running 15 degrees flaps, and their V1s are set differently. So Just a warning if you happen to follow along. Let me just get to here. Okay. Now, let me get back to my checklist here. This is a page off. Okay, and I tell you. Okay. Okay, so flight director switches are on. Speed Mach, since we're 155, we're going to set 165. Like I said, folks, I try to use speeds the same for everything. It makes it simple. V2 plus 10. And I know a lot of you out there will go V2 plus 5. Is there a problem with it? No, not a bit. 12. Okay. Cleared to 33,000. There are no restrictions. And again, anyone out there viewing here knows if there's a slew function or equivalent in X-Plane, boy, I would sure love to learn it so I can get out of the way of trucks so they don't drive through me all the time. At certain airports, Bethel being one of them. Heck, the other spot that's for Alaska itself puts me in the terminal. And I know they pull up sideways to it. Now, I did see a rendering where they could be turning to the first indoor where the airplane actually pulls inside. We'll see. I think it was kind of bogus on what I saw, but you never. I've learned you never know. If you look back in history, the old prop planes at JFK would actually pull up under an overhang to let their passengers out. The age before jetways, or the bridges that go across. Okay, and almost ready to go. All right, there we go. Final checks. Heading bank angle limiter is set at 30. Altitude set to 33,000. VFR radios. Okay, so out of Bethel. Boink. And I do want to make sure I'm on VATSIM. I am. Okay. And all right, so Bethel 114.10. The heading we're going to intercept .070. And no, you're not hearing anything, or your ears aren't playing games with you. Anytime I click a switch here or click just the panel, you hear click. I hate that. But I can't do anything about it, so we are what we are. Next up is SQA in the list. 1720. We'll just keep it at 70. I don't know what we'll be at that point. All right, we got our stuff set. Okay, position lights. Oh, I normally have those set. Okay. Wing lights are off. Let me go up and get the cargo doors closed. Doors and hatches closed. Now we're going to show you some interesting things here that just as default again. This is not a Zebo mod or anything. This is straight out of the box X-Plane. Okay, quick familiarization with the panel and then we're going to get going here. We are on the APU. So we have our electrics up here set to APU. Now, the battery switch is here. So when you first come to the plane, battery switch all the way to the top. You'll see this is your external power. If you switch this on, you'll have external power available. Turn it off, obviously it's not. And then anyway, oh, I'm so used to that on another plane. Anyway, the external power here will light up. You just turn the switches on and you're on external power. Go to the galley, turn it on, and you're ready to go. Now, to start the APU or the engines, we turn the start pump on, fuel pump, at least one of them on, and then your APU master, 2 clicks down. Once it's fired up in the green, generator's on, and you can put the AC bus on auto. And then you can open your cargo doors. Cargo doors are right here. See, I'm opening up. We'll go ahead and shut the plane up now, and then I'll show you one other neat thing that I like, and they're faster than I am. But anyway, now let's get back up here. A lot of these switches, like the emergency lights and all, are not functioning. The no smoking seatbelt signs are there. We'll turn the cabin switch. This is your pitot heat. I don't understand why they call it this. You MD80 guys know, so I'll leave it with you all. We'll turn it to captain. Altimeter is not set. We'll get back down here real quick for that. Actually, let's do it. No, we got to do it this way. Give me a second. 2941. And show of hands, who knows how to tell if the altimeter barometric pressure is correct? Let's see. Okay, don't see any answers real quick. Your airfield altitude should be really close to that. That needle should be really close to the airfield altitude. Altitude here, 129, call it 130. A little off, but we're pretty close. To me, it would be about right there, but that's nitpicking, and again, forgive me there. And over here is our EFIS panel. You can see it controls this. And we can set this up and our different things. We do not have a weather radar, so we're not worried about that. And let's see. So we're into the doors and hatches. Okay, now you can see the air stair is down in the back. And if I bring it up, you can also see that I have the main door open. Both of which are not keyable from your joystick or control yoke. So how in the world do we do this? Well, let's actually come into the cockpit. What happens here is what I've done is set a view to bring me to the cabin. There's the door. Let's go ahead and first get the air stair up. It's 2 clicks. You're going to click at the bottom and then somewhere up here at the top. Now the bottom was what brings the staircase up. Back closes the door. You don't know how long it took me to find that. And if we look outside, voila, air stairs up. And the DB Cooper switch is in place. We'll get to that in a second. You can't see it, but it is the cheapest item ever put on a plane to prevent what DB Cooper did back in the 70s. Okay, and there, to open and close this, all you got to do is just click on the door, it opens and closes, or on the strap like I did. So DB Cooper, if you're not familiar with, he was a bank robber, robbed a bank and hijacked, well, got on a plane, hijacked it. They came down to, I forget what level, and he opened the back end and went down the air stair and jumped out with a parachute with his money. Legend has it, the money has never been recovered. Legend has it, they never found him. I don't know if they ever did or not. But to prevent that ever from happening again. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on the tail here. Let's see if they actually show it. They do not. All right. what the airlines did on this aircraft, the MD-80, DC-9s, and 727s. They're the only ones that have an air door, a door like this, mainly for cooling of the APU. They installed basically you could go to a hardware store, a rotary latch, and it goes right over this, so you can't lower the door. Hardware store probably cost you a couple bucks. Airline dollars, probably a couple million. No, couple. It probably cost them only a couple bucks. Installed it on all their fleets, and you cannot open it in flight. Now, when they land, put the chocks in, the ground crew comes around, opens that switch, and then they either lower it from here, or the flight attendant will lower it from inside. Yeah, okay, there's enough trivia for you. Hopefully I win a trivia pot for you. But yeah, DB Cooper, I forget the actual years. Look him up. Fascinating case. Like I said, he stole money, jumped from a plane with a parachute. I don't know where he found the parachute because they didn't carry him back then. They haven't carried him in years. And somewhere out in Oregon, Washington is where he landed. Some say he died on impact. Some say, who knows? And for all we know, the money has never been recovered. That I don't know. I've heard each side say it was, it wasn't, it was, it wasn't. So I don't know what's true or false on that. So there you go, folks. Little history lesson on top of this. We got 7 minutes to push back, so we're into the before start check here. The doors and hatches are closed, gates removed, fuel levers are in the off position, that being these little guys. VHF comms we know are set. Let's go down to the transponder and move that into position. Now, crossfeeds. Now, the pneumatic bleed valves, that are these guys. When you come into the plane, cold and dark, they're down. We need them up, or the airplane is just not gonna start. So they're up. Crossfeed valves left and right are open. I am assuming they are meaning, yep, they're not meaning anything up here. That's my assumption there. Hydraulic pump, that is over here. And I think on the rotate, I'd have to check with my friend who's a big MD-80 lover. I think these switches all work, and you would have to check with that checklist what you need to do. GPU is not connected, and again, we can tell it's not lit up here. And finally, the before start checklist. Do the push and start. Let's get the guy coming. The nice thing about this better pushback, folks, you can actually set your pushback the way you want it, as you just saw me.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Okay. And we're going to go ahead and call her.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
All right, so what we're going to do, she's in the building. Oh, there she is, right over there. She's going to go in the building and then back out of the building into us. In the meantime, a couple trucks will probably run her over. But anyway, so pushback's approved. Let's go over here, get the anti-collision turned on. Transponder set. Front and aft pumps, we'll get those on at the same time. And ignition to start, and we're going to set it. Today is the 18th, correct? Yep. Okay, start pump on. Air supply off.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Okay, now engine start on this plane is gonna be a little tricky. So we're gonna go to a different view. Let me make sure we're in it. Now what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna open this, pull the switch down, and then we're gonna watch N2 build up. Is that correct? N2? Yeah, N2, and that's this bottom one. When it hits 20, then we can come down,
So
hit
connected and
this.
bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Okay, and your parking brake, like she's wanting released, is right here.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
All right, so here we go. So again, make sure your APU's on, your APU air is on, your pneumatic cross feeds. Well, I don't know if you'll see them that well. There they are, and there's one on the other side. Are all on. Once they're on, flip the switch, hold that down, and you're going to hold it with your mouse. We're waiting for N2, the bottom one. We're doing the right side first. It's at 10 right now. $17, 19, there's 20. We'll let go, scroll down, and there we go. We should see a light off. Appears we do. There it goes, starting to roll up. Yep, we have a light off. Okay. And she's pushing us back right now. Okay, so we got one engine on. Same thing. Waiting for 10, 20, there's 13. 17. And now we can move down and light this puppy up. Got light off here. We'll zoom in so you can see better. EGT is going off the chart. Obviously, it's heating up.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Okay, parking brake is on your tiller.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
And I will be honest with you, I don't know if that's real or not, if that's where it's at or not in the real world. As an airport firefighter, I don't give a darn about the parking brake. We're going to chalk it if we have to. All right, so. Okay, we got good light off, so we'll let her go. All right, so finishing up the after. Okay, so now we're into the after start. Let's get up top here. Sorry about that. Okay, so after the engines have started, let's make sure, because last time one shut down on me. Both of them are running. Okay.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
All right, thanks for flying with Mike. All right, so ignition switch off. That's this middle switch here. Air conditioning auto. That's these two. Engine left and right protection as needed. We will need it. Fuel heat. Those switches are right here and they do not work here. They may work in rotate. And rotate is a payware of this aircraft. I've heard it's pretty good. I'm just not a big fan. That's why I don't have it. All right, so down to here. We're going to come down. And we're going to set for 15 degrees flaps. Verifying right here. 15 degrees, okay. Auto brake, that's all the way to the bottom. There we go. If you hit the switch, it'll put you right there. Again, let me make sure I did not accidentally kill an engine. Okay, we're good to go there. Flight controls. Let's get those back. Get in the cockpit here. Left. right, left. That's where you get to feel like an aerobics instructor. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Rudder left, rudder right, rudder left, rudder right. And then we give it all the way around all of them a couple of times. Okay. All right, we're good to go. So the after start, we are flight controls, nose light, and taxi checklists are complete. Let me just head up top here. Oh, yep, that would help. I'm just looking to see why I missed that. I don't know why. It does not say a word about it. That is cool. All right, so what we missed, bringing this guy and this guy online. This guy and this guy now can go offline. So this guy is left, right generator, engine generators. Left, right APU generators I just turned off. Air is going off. And the APU is going off. Did it just do what I think it did? Hang on, let's find out. Go up here. Let me try something here. Sometimes we got engines running. I really hate when you have lights. Okay, and yaw dampers off. That is weird. Turn it on. Okay, obviously something is not playing right. We're going to go ahead and get rid of these guys again. That is so funny. It does not tell me to turn the gens on. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and keep the AP. I'm going to keep the APU. See, as I did there, start has to be on. Because really it does have us turning that all off at the end. So we'll keep that as is. All right, so we are going to start our taxi. We're going to hold here. Okay. Let's do our before takeoff checklist. Warning lights checked. Fasten seatbelts on. Landing lights will turn on the runway, but we can do at least get them extended. Position. Okay, now your strobes. Position strobe. So just take it one more click down. Annunciator panel check. Takeoff warning check. APU off at this time. Okay, so we take that, we take that. Okay, and off. Unfortunately, APU has to come on now, or yaw damper. And okay, our crossfeed valves are on. Engine selector, select. Now, according to, okay, so our engines are on. Okay, hang on. Elevator set to 10. I don't like that setting. I ended up nose downing quite a bit. So we'll try about there. Excuse me there, folks. And engine selector. Engine starts going to override, which is right here. So a couple clicks till we're there. Nose and taxi light. All right, so that's what we've got. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's make some noise. Bethel traffic, Sim Air Force 18, departing runway 1 left. I'm going to try and use as much of this runway as possible. It's not like the Microsoft default aircraft that'll, as soon as you push the throttles full, seem like they're ready to jump into the air, but it's still somewhat like that. Okay, as we come around here. All right, lights on. Let's take a look outside the bird. There's your tip lights that come on when you bring them out. Nose lights are on. For takeoff, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the outside. All right, folks, we are ready to go. All set. All right, folks, full power. $80 knots. Okay. V1. Rotate. Positive rate of climb. Gear up. Now we'll execute our turn. Autopilot on. All right, there we go. And altitude set. Oh, I didn't notice we were in a nice descent. Gotta love the airplanes sometimes. There we go. Okay, finally now, the after takeoff checklist, 400 feet set roll, 1,000 feet nose down to 10, AP engaged, auto throttle on, and accelerate. Flaps have been retracted. We'll take the back up top here to off. Auto brake should be off. It is. And let me just make sure. Yep, that's it. After takeoff checklist complete. 10,000 feet, we'll switch into, we'll go to 310 on the climb. Here we are coming out of the clouds. And away we go. We're going to set for 310. Go ahead and turn these guys off now. Okay. allow us to speed up. And we can also turn off electronics. And we are on our way, folks. Welcome aboard. We thank you for flying with us. We just departed Bethel, and we are on our way to Juneau, Alaska in the MD-80. Flaps are up, gears up, and we're just heading for transition. Let me see if I can. I don't see any others that'll give us what we need temperature, barometric pressure wise. So just kind of sit back, relax. We are going to set the bank angle now to 15. Okay, that way our turns are a little more gentle. And there gives you an idea of what we're flying today. All right, folks, we again thank you for joining us, and we're just pushing on to cruise right now. That'll be 33,000 feet. And bear with me here. Okay, and there was transition. All right, and runway lights are landing lights are off, turn off lights are off. We just crossed, center tank's empty, we'll kill that. 15 degrees, radar is on, and cruise checklist complete as we push for cruise. Now, one thing I do want to check here. And don't ask me why I can't do it the other way around. It is what it is. Okay, so for those of you joining along, we've got about a 800-mile run from this point over to Juneau. If you like what you're seeing and curious where we're flying to next, by all means hit that follow button. You'll get an email notification the next time we're in the air and letting you know when and where we're going to be. And she pitched up like that, folks, because with the default, it defaults to 46 on the Mach, not what the aircraft's actually at. So that's why she went up like she was to slow down. Right now, it's kind of on its own right now, climbing. We'll make sure 33,000's where it stops. Once we level off, we'll turn off the seatbelt sign, and we're on our way. And there's our alert. Engines look like they're performing well. They're maxing a little bit, but they're doing pretty good here. Here we got about 200 to 300 feet to go. Let's see if it's going to grab it. Looks like the vertical speed is coming down. Throttles are coming back. There we go. And 33,000 feet, folks. All right, so like I said, we're going to come up here. Seatbelts off. Go ahead and turn the airfoils off. We'll keep the engines on and the anti-fog. And just from here out, sit back and relax. Looks like estimating about an hour and 45 minutes over to Juneau. All right, folks. We're getting in close enough here where we need to do this quick arrival brief, and then we'll get back with the music as we slowly approach top of descent. Currently, it's located, oh, probably. No, the problem is with the MD-11 or 80, it really doesn't give us an idea of when that's going to happen. Let me see if I can figure it out here real quick. Then we're into this. They're actually saying we start at the next one. That's actually good altitudes. Okay, so yeah, they're saying from well, after Yak, which is I'm gonna get actual terms here. Um, Yakutat 11330 on our maps here, VOR wise. That's when we're gonna start ourselves down gently. We still will have about 120 miles to a sort. That's where we make the left turn to start our arrival. And there I want to be at about 10,000 feet, beginning to get the plane slowed up and dirtied up. Not yet, but once we hit the bowl, I want to start having getting as much of the flaps out, getting us into landing configuration at 6,100 feet and following it in, because folks, it's a very tricky, a little bit of a tricky approach. So it's not what I would define challenging so much as it is tricky, and deceptive. That probably is even more when you look at it here on the chart, which we're going to do here in a moment. So 1 second here, we're getting Sim Toolkit brought up for y'all. There it is. And you can see all of that lovely stuff we're flying over. We're actually starting to pull out of all of the snow and rain. And so far, so good. Now it's starting to show returns around us in Juneau. And the only reason it may not be showing from where we are to Juneau, lack of radar. So we'll get a METAR here shortly and real quick here and go into it. Speaking of which, let's do that right now. First off, for Juneau, it's 25 feet above sea level. Folks, it's right there on the sea. Beautiful. It's a interesting capital city when we were there on the cruise. Um, the actual capital downtown where the cruise ships and all are, that's about 13 miles south of the airfield. But it stretches all the way from there up to the airport, but just not dense like you'd expect. The road is only, I've been told, 40 miles long, give or take, but it only goes from one end to the other. It does not go into the mainland of Canada. So you're actually completely isolated there. You either get in by boat or by plane. There is no other way. Now, you can drive in, but you're going to be on a ferry, or you can fly in. That's why I said boat or plane, not even a train. So it's really unique because it is right on the mainland of the continental North America, but there is no roads going up the mountains to get you over to the Alcan. Now, if you go up to Sitka or Haines, which is north of the field, oh God, I don't know how many miles, but there the roads connect, not in Juneau. Kind of weird. But anyway, that's the way Alaska wants it, and that's how it'll be. So just food for thought that you only have about 40, 50, 60 miles of road running there in Juneau, and that's it. Dead end on each end. So again, we're 25 feet above sea level. Transition level, like all North America, 18,000. Heading on the runway 85. Um, Now, the LDA with glide slope, which PMDG sometimes picks up, sometimes doesn't. 109.9 on a heading of 71, and its identifier is India, Juliet, Delta, Lima. It's an 8,800 feet runway, 8,857 feet, and it's got a slight slope to it, but not a problem for us. And again, it is a localizer that is displaced, so we're going to come down towards Charlie Golf Lima NDB, and in that area is where we're going to make our turn for the runway, but we've got to be able to see it at a certain point to be able to know when to turn. All right, so with all of the preliminaries out of the way, let's give you a quick recap of where we are. And actually, what I am going to do is a quick edit here, if you don't mind. There we go. Update plan. Update. Now, it's not going to update anything over here, but when we look at it, it's going to show you in that respect. So let's take a look at that update real quick, and then we'll get into the localizer. Then we'll get everything set up. The aircraft's already FMS. I set that up when we left because truly you're only going to come in runway 8. Now, there are ways to come in 26, but there's no instrument approach that way. Unless Alaska set one up, Alaska would be the only one to use it. So you can see there's a sort. We're going to basically come down like this and cut in. You're about to see that. So let's get over to NavGraph. And I'm going to, in essence, do the same thing here. Save. I said save. Come on. Okay, so we got that updated. All right, so let's center this in. Here's Yak Utut. And then you can see this is where Canada is. Anyway, to the approach. Okay, so we're not seeing our assort anymore out here. We used to. They don't show it anymore. I don't know if they don't turn there anymore or not. I don't know if something happened and that had to be changed. I do it until told otherwise. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Okay, so here is the frequency strip across the top if we have ATC. We don't. So again, 109.9 is the frequency for the localizer. Identified by India, Juliet, Delta, Lima. It's on a heading of 071, and that's what we're going to track from assort to deball. That's where we join this localizer, is at deball. Okay, so as we come in Barlow, now we should have a glide slope. I'm not going to contend with it. We need to be at 3,700 feet. That'll be about 3,675 feet AGL. Our minimum descent altitude is 3,200 feet. Airport's at 2,600 feet. Touchdown 25 feet. Now, if we need to do a missed approach, immediately climb right to 5,600 feet via heading 310 and on CGL, which is an NDB, as you can see on the map, bearing 251. So what we're going to do is intercept that. Basically backtrack the localizer to intercept SSR, which is a VOR. Hang on, come on, move up right here. Heading 027 and direct SSR or EEF NDB. They're both in the same location. and you're going to hold till you get till ATC tells you what to do. All right, so again, 18,000 is our transition levels. Okay, so coming in at debolt, we need to be at or I like to be right at 6,300 feet. Then we're going to come down to lens, which is at 5,600 feet, and we're going to teardrop or step down to 3,700 feet, and so on all the way down. Now, the NDB is 2 miles from the actual localizer, which again is not here, not even here. It's off on a hill here that you're tracking to. At CGL, you start beginning to look and make sure you have that runway in sight. If not, we're going around. Expect reels on the end of the runway, VASI, RLLS, which are your lead-ins on the Malzer. Now, those of you flying with Orbix scenery, the VASI, PAPEs, they are VASIs, I'm sorry, I am correct, VASI, are on the left side as depicted here, and they're kind of aimed to help you with lining up on your glide down the localizer and with the runway. So you'll have those to use. So like I said, it's a tricky approach, but it's not really all that hard. I've done it in the clouds with PMDG full auto land and was successful in landing. It was pretty cool to watch. The lead-in lights were great. I don't know if we're going to have them, and I don't think we do. Okay, so this is depicting our missed approach 5,600 feet in a right-hand turn to heading 310 onto 251 off of the CGL NDB. All right, minimums. They don't really go into them. Why not? Huh. 3,200 feet and 4 miles. And basically, you need to see that runway, folks. This isn't a full instrument approach where you can go in 0-0. You're going to have to be able to see it. You'll see why when we start into it. So there you go with that. Our VREF for the day. Bear with me here. I'm just checking the checklist. Zoom in. It's hard to read, that's all, folks. All right, one more time. Okay, I don't really get it. I'm going to plan on about I'm going to plan on V1 that we used for departure. That's what I plan to use. So we'll go from there. One last look as we are. I accelerated the time so we could take off in daylight. We're now in true daylight here in Alaska. Still got a ways to go to get to Anchorage. And with that, that completes our arrival brief. Let's get things set up because I believe we're just about to cross. We got a little ways to go, but not much. All right, so let's get in. All right, so our descent checklist, approach briefing we've done. When we're ready to start down, which will be, I'm going to go ahead and try this at Yak. I've never tried. I usually get in closer. Let me just make sure that's where it's showing. Yeah, usually after fakes, F-A-K-E-S, if you're looking at it on SkyVector, that's where I would usually start. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Altitude trans will set to the local. Hydraulic pumps are on and the anti-fog is still on. I will be turning anti-ice on again as we start our descent. And we'll get everything tuned up here shortly. We're going to cross the, actually we're going to go ahead and get our nav 1 set up. And that again was 1099. Okay. The heading on this thing always keeps changing. So now it's 71. PMDG will actually set it for you. All right, so let's go over here. We're 12 miles. So, and that's from YAKVOR, Yankee Alpha Kilo. All right, so we've got our before 10,000 foot checklist complete. We're just waiting to get there and proceed in. Currently 22 minutes is what they're showing. Expect a little more. Folks, I'm going to go ahead and begin setting up our arrival here. Let me get in the middle, makes it so much easier. We're shooting for 10,000, so that's what we're going to set first. Okay. One more run. Approach brief completed. Seat belts going on. That's weird. All right, let's see how our center pumps are doing. They're empty, so we'll go ahead and close them up. All right, so alternate trans, we're not there yet. Auxiliary and trans hydraulic pumps need to be on. They're going to be found over here. And this is the only switch. I think they all work on rotate. And anti-fogging. Anti-fogs are on. Engine ice is on. And as we get closer to the cloud deck, we'll put the anti-ice on the wings. All right, folks. Here we go. Okay, and we are starting our descent right now by slowing. Okay, and we'll monitor this all the way down. We ran into some trouble. We did this offline yesterday, doing some practice runs with it to get kind of familiar with it again. It's been a while since I've flown it. And we had some fun trying to get her to come down, but it seems to be wanting to come down now. When our airspeed gets up around 280, 290, we'll switch into indicated speed. But again, our goal is 10,000 feet by a sort. Okay, 290. Yep, I was correct. Okay. Which we're getting real close to right now, so we're going to... Okay. All right, so we're approaching 10,000 feet, so we're going to make sure the comms and navs are set. ILS tuned, verified, ILS armed. Okay, we just passed Berks. We've slowed to 250, so I'm going to go ahead and get the lights extended. Not on yet, though. Now, one thing, if you all followed well, you wouldn't have followed, I wasn't streaming. Last night when I was flying into Mid-America Airport, it was snowing, and it was really playing the snow, the strobes, everything were playing havoc with my eyes. Folks, if they start flashing and making it hard, turn the strobes off. Believe me, it's not going to warrant any airplane. That's when you better hope radar has not forgotten you, which on VATSIM happens to me more often than not. Oh, and those of you traveling to Hawaii or Japan, Oceanic has come offline. All right. So we're at 250, and I'm going to 10,000 slow us even more. I'm going to go ahead and start that process. The big thing is I don't want to run into any granite cumulus clouds out here. They really play havoc. All right, just recapping, we've been online now for 2 hours 53 minutes. We are approximately 10 minutes from landing. And in the most challenging part of this flight. So let's see here. We have 9 miles to a sort, and then we're going to make our turn, I hope, up towards the Bull, which should be 7.2, and then see they're showing 7.2 on these, so we'll see. We'll see who's right. If the localizer does not come alive, like it should be. Okay, wait a minute here, we're going. I want to make sure we level off here. We didn't do that yesterday. Okay, we are leveling, good. If that does not come alive, we will turn off the weather. So we'll see here. All right, so we're 10,000. Dibole is 6,300 feet or above. We're going to shoot 6,500 feet and then 56 to 5,700 feet for lens. 3,700 fully configured, flaps full, spoilers armed, everything ready to land at Bilo, or not Bilo, what the heck is it called? Barlow. And that's 3,700 feet. Those two are very close to being very hard altitudes, so that we make sure we're descending decently and at the right speeds. We're going to descend at about 150. Okay, so, and our trip from Asort to Dibole is about 20 miles. So, and Dibole, I'm going to want to be at about 210, no faster. All right, here comes the turn. We should be getting a localizer here shortly. Okay. All right, let's see if we'll descend. I'm going to go ahead and bring us down to 220. And the wing lights are on. And we'll go ahead and turn them on the fuselage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are now on approach into Juneau. Make sure your seat backs and all are raised in their upright positions. Stow your tables at this time. Flight attendants, take your seats for arrival. very carefully coming in through here. Try to come down it. Oh, no, no, no. Easy, girl. Easy. Okay, here we go, folks. We are now on arrival into Juneau. You cut this out. There are mountains here. Slow to 200. I'm going to make sure we level off because we did not last time. This is an area we gotta level off. You can see below us, high terrain. Oh, there she goes. She's not leveling. Girl. Just got a glimpse. All right. Okay. Okay, flaps. Okay, we're going to continue. Okay, we're not on the localizer. All right. Sorry for that, folks. I was really hoping for the localizer to come on, but it did not. About ready to kill the autopilot because we're fighting it. And whoa. Even on a VFR day, it can be hard to find. I'll be honest, I don't even have the runway yet. Okay, stand by here for a second, folks. Good Lord, I don't even have the runway. Ah, figured out why. Holy mackerel. Okay. And as you can see, folks, how tricky this approach is. I've now got the runway in sight. Now you can see some lead-in lights. See those little 5 like white dots right in front of us? Hang on a second. One thing I did not set. All right, folks. So now, welcome to Juno. Now, a couple things. Oh, I don't like. Where am I at? Oh, I didn't see the X. Okay, hang on a second. All right, so now you see what I mean by it being a tricky approach. Let's get these landing lights up. Strobes off. So that gives you an indication of why I preface this approach as it is challenging. All right, so let's bring up the checklist here while we're slow rolling here. I know flight directors can go off now. Why aren't they going off? Okay, so all right, so flaps to 0. Speed brakes are, I believe, retracted. Yep. Pumps, oh, wrong one. Transponder can go to standby. APU, we can start, auto brakes off, weather radar, exterior lights set, nose lights on, and we got our taxi clearance. Okay. All right, so we got to turn the start pump on. Here comes the APU firing up, and we're going to go ahead and taxi. All right, another not a great approach, way off course. Should have been a missed approach, but we went ahead because we're flight sim and reorientated and landed. Hey, good afternoon, morning to you there, journeying. We are on the ground in Juneau. And let me get up here, go ahead and bring the gen on and the air on. Okay. Let's see now if the flight director will turn off. It is not. Why not? Oh well. Hopefully I figured that out here soon. Okay, so there we are, folks. You can see all the different lights that are on this plane. They're on now. Got a ways to go. We got to go way up here. But kind of giving you a little look at the lay of the land. We were off course, as you can tell, by a little bit. Juneau Capital is that way, maybe right about there-ish, a little further down. But out here, there is some part of the city out in this area. Walmart, which I think closed since we visited. Believe it or not, yes, Walmart closed, I heard. So there were some interesting stories the tour guides gave us about Walmart. But yeah, there were lines and all when they were going to open it a few years before we got there. And last I read, they might have closed it. I don't know if that's because people didn't like it. I don't know. They may not like the fact that you have 40 checkout lines and only 2 manned. Who knows? But just for folks, we had a 339 foot per minute landing at 160 knots. A little fast. Like I said, with 8,000 feet of runway, that is plenty of runway. All right, and flaps are up. Auto brakes off, weather radars off, exterior lights set, nose light is on, taxi clearance has been obtained. All right. And to be fair with X-Plane, this is a pretty good rendition of Juneau, at least this part of it. If it's on par with everything else I've seen so far, you won't even know the city's 13 miles away. But if this was Microsoft's flight sim, not necessarily 2020, but FSX or possibly even prepared or further back, the capital would be rendered, hang on a second, giving you another beautiful shot of this plane. The capital would be looking like Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., right out in there. No, that's not where it's at. But that's okay when you don't talk to the people on the ground that know where things are. It's what you get. Or at least use Microsoft Earth, Google Chrome. You pick which one you want to pick. And yeah, it's just the way it is. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stay out of the plane because in the flight sim we can. For the most part, they've done a pretty good job. That terminal is somewhat like the real one. We got a chance to see it when we were heading out for whale watching and to see the glacier. I forget what it's called. But for the most part, it's a pretty good adaptation. Um, we'll go ahead and take this one right on the end. right, and get that nose light either dimmed or off. That is a neat image. I'll take a picture of that. And Terminal Services is now marshaling us in the way of flight sim. We'll take care of it. Okay, so we are into blocks. First thing we want to make sure we do, set the parking brake. I think I saw strobes on, so hang on a second. No, I didn't. Okay. All right, so continuing on, nose lights now off, seat belts off. Oh. Trans pumps off. Get that here. I could hit the right camera. APU is running on the bus. Fuel off, which is what we're getting ready to do, and the anti-collision lights will go off as well. All right, make sure we're on the gen. We are. Auto, okay. All right, so we're coming down. We're going to take the control switches off, off, 5. They are spooling down. Anti-collision light can now go off. And back up top here, we'll turn those off. Windshield ice off. And left and right is off. Meteor off. Airfoil off. Flight directors. Let's see if they'll turn off now. I don't know why they won't. Huh. All right, and transponders off, parking brake set, and shutdown is complete. So we'll head back into the cabin. Terminal services is chalked to plane, so we'll get that door coming down. Okay, and 9. Get that opened up. And we'll get the cargo doors open. All right, folks, why is that light still on? All right, folks, there you go. We are on the ground here in Juneau. Interesting flight. Had to turn the weather off one more time. But, folks, we've arrived alive. And let me just bring up some ACARS, Air Force ACARS, get my credit for my flight, which was a total of 2 hours, 27 minutes. Call it 2 hours, 28 minutes. Yes, it says a 737-800, but you know what? We didn't have that available. So we flew out the MD-80. Okay, that flight's been received. Go over here real quick. All right, and folks, We want to thank you all for flying with Mike today. We are in Juneau. Next flight for this series will be, I don't know, maybe next week or two, but we'll be going to Seattle from here. And I don't know if we'll use the MD-80 or Zebo. We'll find out. But anyway, folks, thanks for flying with Mike. We uh, will be trying to post this up to YouTube um, here shortly. It'll take a little bit to do the what we need to, but we thank you again for flying with us. Follow us if you liked what you saw, and that way you'll get an email of when we're online next time. Next trip is the MD-80 from Mid America Airport to Punta Gorda, uh, Florida. That's Fort Myers. It's not Fort Myers RSW Airport. It's Papa Gulf Delta. It's north. Oh, let me see if I can't narrow that down some for you. Wrong page. KPGD. All right, so Punta Gorda, probably about 20, 30 miles north of Fort Myers International. I think it's international. But anyway, that's where Allegiant flies. And we'll be flying the MD-80 again under Allegiant colors to there. So anyway, that's what's up next. We hope you again enjoyed the stream. We enjoyed the flight. Sorry we couldn't show much more scenery than what we had to here, since I have yet to figure out how to get the localizer and all to work here. But we'll try that out here and see if we can't figure it out. But anyway, thanks for joining. Hope to see you on our next stream. God bless, and y'all have a great Monday morning.